Hello again, folks, and welcome to Black Bear Outdoors. Today we've got a pretty big topic to discuss, but I'll try and keep my yammering as brief as possible. That being said, we're going to be talking about Glock pistols in general. We're going to be taking a look at the .40 Smith & Wesson cartridge, and in particular we're going to be looking at the Glock Model 22 and why this has been one of the preferred firearms of law enforcement agencies since about 1990. After that, we'll take it to the table, we'll take a closer look at the pistol itself for those guys who are unfamiliar with the Glock pistols or are thinking about getting into Glock pistols for the first time. After that, we're going to take it out to the range, put some lead downrange with it, and also compare it to a 9mm competitor to see if we agree with certain law enforcement agencies moving back towards 9mm. So let's jump straight into it. In 1980, the Austrian military was still rocking their Walther P38s since World War II, and they wanted to replace this with a new modern sidearm. So enter in 1982 a guy by the name of Gaston Glock. He pulled together a group of people consisting of sports shooters, military guys, law enforcement guys, and asked them what they want in a pistol. And he developed his Glock Model 17. Just a side note, when you're talking about Glocks and their model numbers like a 17, a 22, a 44, a 45, that has no bearing on the actual caliber or capacity of it, and it's literally just a model number. In this case, I believe it was a patent number. In any case, Gaston Glock won this bid because his pistol, his polymer-framed striker-fired pistol, went through all these rigorous tests and beat out the competition. The rest, as they say, is history. It created an insanely good track record of reliability and durability for these pistols, and law enforcement ran with it as well. On the civilian side, of course, we had the good old statement by our hero John McClane in the Die Hard 2 movies about the Glock 7.
That punk pulled a Glock 7. You know what that is? It's a porcelain gun made in Germany. Doesn't show up on your airport x-ray machines here, and it costs more than you make in a month. You'd be surprised what I make in a month.
Obviously, this was all fictitious, but it did pique the interest of the civilian market. And the rest, again, as they say, is history. So how did it come about that law enforcement decided to go with the .40 Smith & Wesson? Now, this was based around the Miami-Dade shooting that the FBI was involved in 1986. Now, one of our favorite YouTubers, a guy by the name of Paul Harrell, did a fantastic analysis and breakdown of this actual incident, and we'll put a link to the description down below if you want to learn more about it in depth. Also, check out his channel. It's fantastic. I love it. In any case, what it boils down to is that the FBI was involved in a shootout with two heavily armed criminals. One of the criminals was struck by a 9mm bullet from an FBI agent's pistol, which ended up being a fatal wound. However, it wasn't an instantly incapacitating wound. So with the knock-on effect that this criminal was able to continue the fight for a few extra minutes, and in that few extra minutes he was able to inflict a bunch of casualties. So the FBI decided they wanted to go with a 10mm, and anecdotally they were saying the recoil was too rough for them, for all the different agents to use it, and it just wasn't a good fit. So Smith & Wesson and Winchester teamed up together, and they created what is now known as the .40 Smith & Wesson. The .40 Smith & Wesson is pretty much a 10mm cartridge that's been cut down to reduce the recoil. So with the effect of it is a more powerful round than the 9mm, has more recoil than the 9mm, but has less recoil than a 10mm. So it's got excellent terminal ballistics, and the payoff, again, like anything, if you want more power, you're going to have more recoil. It is more recoil. So in regards to the Glock 22 itself, Glocks are incredibly popular among military and law enforcement for a few different reasons. Firstly, it is inexpensive for them to buy, as opposed to a civilian. So the prices differ very much from government contracts to civilian on-the-shelf prices. It is a very simple and a very reliable design, and with a bit of training, people can actually use it to very good effect. So what we're going to do next is we're going to take it into the table, take a closer look at the features that it offers, and what a law enforcement officer getting issued one of these could expect. After that, we're going to take it out to the range and we're going to put it through its paces. Stay tuned. Alright folks, now that we have the Glock Model 22 on the table here, we can take a closer look at the features that it's got. So this is a Gen 4. The Glock 22 isn't available in a Gen 5 yet, but there's a few minor differences, but I'll show you what we're talking about. So for example, the Gen 4 has got a very distinctive grip pattern, or stippling if you want to call it. It comes with 3 different back straps, a small, medium, and a large, as well as one of them's a beaver tail as well. You'll notice that it is not ambi. You only have a slide, stop, slide, release on the one side for the right-handed shooter, really. But the kind of enlarged, kind of compared to the Gen 3 mag release, you can switch to the other side. See, it's got a little thingy there that you can see where it'll go. It is a polymer frame pistol, as you probably know, steel slide, and it comes with standard polymer Glock sights. You'll see it looks like a little football post and a ball. You can put the drop in the bucket. That's how you aim it, right? And it only has serrations on the rear end here. The Gen 5s do have serrations on the front. Now, as far as the grip goes, this is an interesting thing because the grip angle is very different from other pistols. I'll show you what I mean. If we look at our SIG 226 here, you can see it's got a much more straight up kind of angle grip as opposed to the pistol grip of the Glock, which is much more angled. Now, that leads to a lot of people shooting the Glock to the left, including myself. And apparently the fix is that you have to cock your support hand further forward when you're doing your 2 thumbs forward grip on this, and this should counteract that. And like anything, it's just a training issue. Nothing much to say about that. So one thing I do like about the Glock, and it's kind of like a staple gun trigger, it comes in at roughly about 5.5 pounds. This is safe direction, by the way. Hopefully you can see that. It's got a bit of an uptake and then a crisp break, and the reset is pretty nice. It's very audible, very tactile, and pretty short. So that's pretty nice. I quite like that about the Glock. You'll see that it also has some serrations on the front of the trigger guard there for guys like me who like to get a bit more purchase on it that way. And it also has a rail here that you can add your lights and lasers to your heart's content. Breaking the Glock down is pretty easy. I'm probably going to struggle doing it on the camera now. What you have to do is you just pull your slide back about 1/2 inch, pull down on these little tabs, and it'll come straight off. See, pretty easy. And then replacing it, you just make sure it's all nice and lined up and let the pistol do the work. There you go, ready to roll. So yeah, again, very simple to operate, very simple design, but very, very effective. So next up, guys, we're going to take it outside. We're going to shoot it a bit. We're going to see how an average shooter like me does on it, and also compare it to a 9mm competitor a little bit. Stay tuned. Alright folks, our first task on the range is going to be to see if an average shooter like myself, I'm no Jerry Michalak, can get combat effective hits using the Glock pistol and the 40 Smith & Wesson caliber. We're going to be aiming for the black circle, which in our case is going to equate to an incapacitating hit. We'll pretend it's going to be an incapacitating hit. And yeah, let's see how it goes. Next up, we're going to take a look at the grip angle, and does that actually impede quick reloads? Now, there's obviously a million people who can do this faster than I can, but let's see how that works out for us. I would say that's pretty acceptable. Next up, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be comparing the actual recoil of the 40 Smith & Wesson to a 9mm. Unfortunately, we don't have a Glock 17 on hand, and the closest competitor that we could find is a Smith & Wesson M&P 9mm. Let's take a look, and you can decide for yourself whether it's acceptable or not. Next thing we're going to do, guys, is we're going to take a look at follow-up shots. Now, this is one of the reasons that law enforcement agencies are saying that they are going back to the 9mm, because you can do quicker follow-up shots. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to fire as quick as we think we can hit the black target. Remember, we're pretending that's an incapacitating shot. And we're going to fire 10 rounds with each pistol. With the 40, we're going to use the Blazer Brass 180 again. And with the 9mm, we're going to be using Blazer Brass 115 grain 9mm. All right, so let's see if one is faster than the other and if it's fast enough to actually make a difference. So our final thoughts on whether the 40 cal is still a good viable option for police services or law enforcement agencies. Of course it is. It's got excellent terminal ballistics. Yes, it does have a little bit more recoil, but in my opinion, that's a training issue. You can train through that, right? Is it worth changing a whole agency over to 9mm? I don't know. Is 9mm good enough to use as a duty pistol? For sure it is. It's got excellent terminal ballistics as well. Especially with the new bullet designs, the gap between 40 and 9 has been made smaller. And as we know, it's all about shot placement, that kind of thing, right? So yeah, we love 9mm. We own several of them. So we're not dissing the 9mm at all. However, 40 is still a very, very good caliber. One of the complaints that we've heard people iterate on the internet is that it wears guns out pretty quickly. However, in my opinion and my research, I couldn't find any evidence to that. If I'm wrong, let me know down in the comments below. So guys, if you enjoyed our video, if you learned something, please give us a thumbs up, leave us a comment, and hit that subscribe button on the next page. Looks like a black bear badge. Also, if you'd like to be notified about when we post up new videos, there's a little bell icon next to the subscribe button. Hit that one as well, and we'll see you next time.